and development. And yes, you are not where you should be. But then, like I often say, we're 200 million people with about an average age of 19. A majority of these people are living in rural Nigeria. And when he came, one of the things he focused on was agriculture. I'm an Urban man from the Niger Delta. And I have the largest community farm project in Nigeria today in Nasarawa State here. Farm was started in 2017 because of him telling us to go to the farm. I'm also one of the few that can come out and say I got support from the central bank with regards to the agri development project. And so we built a community where there are more than 500 Nigerians working there every day, which is also a ruga or a farm settlement. And so if you talk about being prepared, I often ask the question that, are we preparing based on what social media says or preparing based on what Nigerians are seeing? Yes, insecurity was a major challenge before he came to power. Yes, insecurity is still a major challenge today. But are we not far from where we were? If an urban man can have one of the biggest farm projects in this country in Nasarawa, not in Lafia or Kefi or the major Nasarawa city, but in Gati, a community that is deep in rural Nigeria, that should be something that is worth selling. That as tough as the country is, as tough as the economies are all over the world, that there are silver lining that we can hold on, a foundation that the Tinubu presidency can hold on to, because something has been done. So we are over prepared. If I want to come from that angle for the campaign.
Would you say you are one of the few, very few, who has been able to benefit from this? Because I come from Benue State, for instance, and we have about 1.2 million people who have been internally displaced for over 5 years now. We've also seen across the country, and the reason why I say Benue State, for instance, is that the major trade is the food basket of the nation, and a lot of people are into agriculture. But insecurity, which you rightly stated, was a problem and still is relatively, has forced a lot of people out of their communities and out of the farms. And so, yes, we do have the few exceptions, but do you think this speaks to the majority of Nigerians who have been displaced, who can't farm, who have also had their farms ravaged by cattle?
That is exactly why the Agbado and Cassava economy is very important in the 2023 election. Now look, think about it this way. We should stop, and I've often said that if we don't learn from the lessons and the mistakes of crude oil, we'll keep repeating them even in agriculture. You see, the West developed crude oil and used crude oil not as a sustainable national economic project, no, but as a source of supporting the infrastructure and the foundation of national development. So what should change in Benue? Yes, I understand the Benue challenge because I'm in Nasarawa, we're very close. But what is ordinarily supposed to change? Your national development should grow from agriculture, okay, down to every other sector. Don't forget that more than 80% of all global industrialization were agrarian. If you take out the exception of Hong Kong, which was the point of trade between mainland China and the rest of the world, and probably take out Switzerland. Even Switzerland takes cocoa from most of Africa and then convert it to chocolate, okay? Other than their money transactions. So you have to look at agriculture as that foundation. And so what should be done in a state like Benue? And one or two persons from even the current government have come to look at the model we built in Nasarawa State as a source of implementing rural farm settlement in Benue. But unfortunately, the mistake the country and leadership keep making is we look at the sentiments and forget the issues. And what are the sentiments? The sentiment is the Fulani, is focused on the Fulani taking over Benue. But what are the issues? The American cowboy and the Fulani man are one and the same person. What did the Americans do? The Americans created an industry out of their own Fulani herdsmen. So the cowboy industry today is equivalent to the Nigerian economy as a whole. Over $400 billion. And the cowboy and a person when we say they stay on top of cow, make us speak pidgin overs. They stay on top of cow, they manage cattle, isn't it? So it's a Fulani herdsman. So what we need to do in a place like Benue is for the state and the local government to be focused on real rural integration. And they use that as a source of national development. And when you do that, right, you engage the local people. And let me tell you, Benue does not have an insecurity problem. Benue has an economic problem. Nigeria does not have, like I often say, Nigeria does not have a debt problem. Nigeria has a revenue problem. So what do? You use agriculture as a source of not just employment, creating jobs, but as a source of rural integration. And when I see a lot of these governors coming to us and telling us that they want to build Kota Road in rural Nigeria, I say, go to Texas. Texas have some of the largest farm fields in the world. And the roads leading to those farms are not Kota Road. They are high, compact, laterite road with basic infrastructure and rural amenities that is provided for the people. So what the Agbado philosophy and economy is talking about is simple. Is that, look, let us go back to what it used to be. And let me ask you, I was born in 1976. I was born in Jos. And my dad was in the army, late Professor Moses Tedeke was in the army. And because they couldn't come home, they planted kola nut tree in my name in Wari, Delta, in the Delta State. They are still harvesting that kola nut today. When was the last time we planted trees? So the reality is, we need to refocus. And that is exactly what the Asiwaju campaign is talking about. And that is why, in understanding Benue, we must not keep focusing on the challenges that we have had in the past. Because those challenges will always be there. Plus, let's not forget, Europe right now, they said they made a go get firewood to take cool themselves because of the challenge of gas. Now, you could come to Nigeria and go tell Nigeria, make you go get firewood. So Benue, the solution to Benue's challenges and crisis is the Agbado and Cassava economy for the greater good of the Nigerian people.
Okay. Interesting one there. Honorable, yesterday, the NOI actually made headlines with their poll that was conducted based on the top political parties and their presidential candidates. And what was clearly shown was that the Labour Party candidate was leading those polls. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Thank you very much. Let me also, before I commented that, let me appreciate my brother who agriculturally elaborated and explained to Nigeria. And this is part of the things that we need for Nigeria. And of course, please don't stop at this Benue. Continue, go to Borno, go to Lagos, go to Sokoto and the rest of it. Exactly, any strong, meaningful economy is by agriculture. He said it all. Well, let me go back to the electioneering situations. That is, social media. You see, they have their own way of doing things. This is the time that we Nigerians should come to the world and say that, yes, tell the entire world that we are the giant of Africa and that we are the leaders of black race. And we should exhibit it by the reality. Fake news is not even good for you, or for me, for anybody. There's nothing like this to conduct it. Let's see the reality. I believe the party that will beat APC down, I think I will wait to see. It is not true. It's a fake news.
So interestingly, Honorable, yes. I hear your sentiments, which has been echoed by some of your colleagues.
It is not a sentiment. I'm just telling you the reality. I'm one of the border, and I have my followers.
Yes, and
I control over 8,000 voters.
So no, Honorable,
I can show you an example of that.
Actually,
and somebody will come outside here and tell me there's an example, conducted poll of opinion, what have you.
No, so several points is, and people have counted saying NOI polls in 2019 predicted Alhaji Atiku would win the election, which he didn't. And people have also commented, what is the sample size? Tell us the number of people, the population you sample to get the result. But I want to come back to something which he said, and you. The president was in Imo State just this week. And I recall that in his 7th or 8th year of being the president of Nigeria, he still makes reference to the last 16 years of PDP where oil prices were at $100 per barrel and it was all squandered. Now he has tried his best. However, our refineries are still working at minimal capacity. We are not meeting our quota at a point where Russia is holding the world to ransom, and Nigeria would have made a lot of money from sale of crude oil to the rest of the world. We've not benefited from that. And so why should Nigerians believe the promises of the APC again going into the next 4 or 8 years when things like refineries haven't been fixed? Things like the economy, we are highly in debt and poor.
Thank you, my brother. You see, you've answered your question by yourself.
Yes.
You said President talk about when he made the situation. Was Nigeria's situation, was it like now? When we have a place where you can no-go area?
But he promised change.
And look, today Nigeria is a paradise. And comparing to other countries with disaster, with other economic, situation and the rest of it, Nigeria is the best. Let me also keep on this, the fake news, like I said about it. We are going to the poll. We have APC and I call actually PDP, being a party that was before. And thanks to President Muhammad Buhari being an honest man, he continued from where PDP stopped, and any other infrastructure that they fixed, he completed. And I will give you an example. Very soon, a compendium of 1,000 page is coming up on board, and Nigerians will see for themselves. By the time it comes, but next month we're going to show it to the world to see that APC people will rush and beat APC. And those are the contribution of Bola, Ahmed Tinubu, Asiwaju, and the rest of them. Those are people who push it on. Nigeria sentiment is not the best. Let's make this country great again. We're all equal to the tax, and we can make it again. APC is the party to beat.
So what is it about the presidential candidate now that you are pushing Nigerians towards supporting? Not just as a party. What is it about him?
Okay.
Is it to me or to you? Let me.
Okay.
No,
both of you can answer, but let him start.
Okay, me, I'm talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A man with credentials, a man with integrity, a man with what is called a mentor, a father across Nigeria, not only to one section. Allah, I'm telling you this. I'm one of the beneficiaries of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He did it all, and he will continue with this. He's a father. He guided the party and the rest. We came in a situation where nothing to write home about. The account is zero. And look at where we are now. There are infrastructures that are fixed. He will complete it. And Nigeria will applaud him for that. Let me stop.
So, Wrestling, before you answer, just to add to it.
Okay.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor about 20 years ago. So he was younger. He was more in tune with the realities of Nigeria. I'm not saying he's detached from it now, but what he had to offer them. Because Nigerians have also said the President Buhari we had in '84 may not necessarily be this one.
Yeah.
And so while, yes, he has, Bola Ahmed Tinubu had done some work in the past, what guarantee do we have now that we would get better?
Okay. In one of the unique things about the Buhari, the Tinubu, what is going to become the Tinubu presidency, is his capacity to build teams, build men who understand
and women,
his drive. Yes, and women, of course, who understand his drive for the growth of the Nigerian nation. Fashola, former Governor Fashola, the current Vice President, DG Budget, Ben, and so many of them are from the Tinubu School of Governance and Ideology. And so there is no fear about his age, because, I mean, they often say that the wine gets better as it ages. So we don't have any problem with Tinubu's age. Now, when you look at it, right, people talk about what did he do and what he's likely going to do. I'm very confident that every state in Nigeria wants to be like Lagos. And the reason they want to be like Lagos is what Lagos, the transformation of Lagos over the last 20 or 30 years. I mean, I'm not that young, I'm 47, not compared to you. I spent a lot of time in Lagos. And it used to be a massive refuge city that it is not today. And you see, leadership is not complete if you don't have the ability to sustain your development or your initiative or your programs with continuity. If you're not able to fight for those that will succeed you. So from Tinubu to Fashola, from Fashola to Ambode, from Ambode to Sanwo-Olu, if you look at the case of Lagos and you look at the case of Rivers, for example, I always tell people that no matter how cost the government project is, if Ameshi's successor had continued the monorail he was doing in Rivers, even though you can probe him, you can charge him that the thing is too expensive, over time it would have been completed. And that is one of the unique things that Buhari did, like he said, is that you didn't come in and said, I want to build new projects. He came in and said, I want to finish what was started. So there's no need to begin to say, okay, I initiated it, I started it, and I completed it. And so it is a situation of looking at, I always tell Nigerians, say Nigerians have one biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge of Nigeria is that we want miracles in everything. Now Nigeria, somebody won't wake up today, you want hammer tomorrow. Okay? Rome was never built in a day. A country needs to have a 20, 30, 40, 50 years development plan. Because the reality is that China that we talk about today, in the 80s, none of us was buying made in China. Today, the world is made in China. They started that, they call it the cultural economic revolution, where you buy made in Nigeria. I'll be more aggressive. Like I said, I will be telling the Asiwaju presidency that you have to be more aggressive. Anything that can be made in Nigeria should not be imported. In China, anything that is made in China, if you import it, you are short in some cases. We must get to that level when Nigerians must be responsible for uplifting the spirit of the real Nigerian national development. We were saying it before we entered the studio that Nigeria is actually very resilient. Nigerians can always survive anywhere they go to. And so what we need to do, the transition is from a Buhari who was trying to stabilize the Nigerian state and the infrastructural need to a Tinubu who is going to administratively reconstruct the Nigerian state to ensure that what is produced in Nigeria is consumed in Nigeria, and what is foreign is seen as evil, like it was done in Korea under General Park. And that is why Korea is one of the biggest economies today because of that cultural revolution.
Honorable, I'll give you 30 seconds for your final comments because we're running out of time and we need to wrap up.
Okay.
30 seconds, your final comment to Nigerians.
Well, I might stand here. In fact, what need to be said has already been said. We Nigerians, we should look inward and see who we are.